Hi, I'm Dana, and today I really want to talk about unintentional autistic masking and feeling like you don't necessarily understand or know how to control the mask because you don't know who you are. As always, this is extremely focused on my own feelings and experiences. This isn't supposed to be educating about autism as a whole. This isn't supposed to be any sort of like, this is how autistic people are. This is how I am as an autistic person. This is what I feel as an autistic person. It's my experience, and as such, you can't tell me it's wrong. But this video especially is very much inspired by a recent experience I've had, because this is a bit weird for those of you that have been following me for a while, but I've started going to church recently. I found a church local to me that does a utilitarian service, and I actually really like it. It's a really nice space to be able to just like reflect on the week and reflect on like what I think, and the priest does lots of like really interesting readings, and like the last one's about poetry, the one before was about philosophers. Like I feel like I really get to both reflect and learn something. It's a nice space. I don't know why I'm really getting into it. This video isn't like telling you to go to church, but I've been enjoying it, so I want to be like a part of that community, and I'd like to like, you know, feel like I'm there beyond just showing up and sitting in silence and leaving after an hour. I want to feel like a part of the community. So as such, I went to the congregational lunch. I made some cookies, I made some bread rolls to go with the soup that the priest was making. It was a really nice little like idea. And like I left feeling really good about it because I'd gone in and I'd like gotten my soup and been like, hey, do you mind if I sit here to this like nice looking couple that were there? And I'd spoken to some other ladies that I see in the church, and I felt really good about it. You know, I even had like a little talk to the priest and was like, no, I would really like to like maybe get involved in some community work. I do have a good amount of free time. I just don't really know how to integrate and involve myself in things. And I was also very honest, because obviously a lot of like initial conversations that you have with people are very like, so what do you do? What's your life about? And I've always been the type that's just like, oh, I'm not employed, don't worry about it. But recently, because I do have some followers now, like I've been like, oh, I'm trying to make a go with YouTube. And obviously to then carry on the conversation, people are like, oh, and what do you make videos about? And I tell them like, oh, it's about my experience of being autistic. And I do quite like that it's a very easy way for me to just very quickly put across in conversation, like, I'm autistic, that's why I'm a bit awkward and weird. You don't have to worry about like what's going on with me, it's that. And especially in like situations like in a church where the people there are showing up because like we have similar beliefs in like you should be kind to people, and like it does feel like I'm safe to be like, yeah, I'm autistic, like I've had it, whatever. So it's one of those things where I went in very much being like, I want to be myself here. I just want to get to know people and let people get to know me and be myself within this community. And upon like immediately leaving, I felt like I'd done a really good job. And I'll give, maybe I've just overthought it a lot, but the more I've thought on it, the more I'm like, I don't think I acted like myself, you know? Like, sure, I didn't lie to people, I didn't make anything up, I didn't tell anyone anything that wasn't true about myself, but the way that I said it and the way that I put things across feels so not me. Like, it doesn't feel fake per se, but it doesn't feel like it's me. Like, I do think that some degree of it is that it's a church setting, and even though I do really like this church setting and the people that are there and everything, I grew up very much being made to feel like I could not be myself in church settings or around religious people, you know? Like, I do think like lots of different things play into this type of thing, and masking and being autistic out in social settings is a very nuanced, complex thing, really. But it's made me sort of anxious to go back, because I don't know if I'm going to mask in the same way when I next go back, because I haven't intentionally created a mask. I haven't intentionally created this personality for this space, which is massively what I used to do. Like, I wasn't entirely aware of it, but for high school, like, I definitely sort of like sculpted a person to be while I was in school, and a person to be when I'm at this club, and a person to be when I'm with these people. And with like my own masking journey, I have stopped intentionally crafting masks like that, and I feel like I've been sort of working very hard on trying to like take all the little bits of masks that feel more true and feel a lot more like myself and put them into like the social mask, because I do think it's one of those things where as much as autistic people do extra masking, everybody has some degree of a mask for different situations that they're in. Like, everybody in the world, nobody is the same person to every single person they meet, you know? And especially when you're in situations like I'm in, where it's a little bit anxiety inducing, people do have a mask, but I think that the ones that autistic people have are just like much more in depth and much more damaging, and often lesser so resemble who we really are, because who we really are isn't all that socially acceptable a lot of the time. But I do almost feel like I had an easier time of it when I was intentionally creating masks, and intentionally, I knew like when I walk into this place I'm going to act like this, Whereas going into spaces and going into social situations and social settings and trying to be myself, I feel like I don't recognise the person that comes out, and I don't recognise the person that I start to like not necessarily pretend to be, because like I say, I am trying to be myself and the mask is very much unintentional, but I do just sort of feel like it's not real, you know? Like the person that I'm putting forth to people isn't a real person. That's not me, and I'm the person that's like pretending right now, so like it's not me. I think it's something that I maybe haven't focused on or haven't cared so much about, because I haven't really been in that many settings where like I want to be a part of this community, I want to get to know these people and so on. You know, a lot of social interactions I enter, I'm very like, it'd be nice if I made a friend, but I don't really care that much if these people like me or what they think of me. You know, like if they think I'm cool, that's awesome. If they don't, I don't really care. So this is one of the first situations I've had in like quite a few years where I've gone in being like, I really want these people to like me. I really want to like integrate with this community and be a part of this little like group, you know? And being someone who's always like felt very much on the outside of groups, and who like, you know, as much as I have often been a part of groups and clubs and whatever else, I've always felt on the outside of them. And like, I'm not actually a part of it. I'm just there. I'm just witnessing it more than being a part of it. It's very difficult to, I don't know how to integrate into things. I don't know how to become a part of things. And I find it very, very difficult to like just know the things that everybody else knows. Yeah, like, there were so many like clubs and groups and stuff that I went to as a teenager where like, it turned out that there was like an extra club on the weekend and they went on this social outing and they did this and they did that. And I don't know how I just didn't hear about it. Like, it didn't seem like anyone was trying to like keep it from me. I just somehow don't access the information that everyone else does. Like, I do definitely have like a sort of unhealthy desperation to actually feel like I'm a part of a community and not just on the outside witnessing it. And I think that did also like drive my brain to just be like, mask, put on the mask, be a good person, be the right person, be the person they'll want as a part of this community. And it's especially annoying because I do feel like I often find spaces that are very safe and are very accepting, and if I could just be myself would be accepted and fine. But I don't necessarily know what myself is in those settings, you know? Because like I say, everybody masks to some point. No one is like 100% them like normal, like unperceived self in a social setting. I feel like a lot, like most people have a bit more of a grasp of like who they are to be able to create a mask that is just the best versions of themselves. It's just putting you like giving the best impression you can as yourself. And I'm giving the best impression I can as a completely different person, and I'm really anxious about keeping up with that and being that person. And I'm not ever sure how I come across either. Like, I feel like that's one of the biggest difficulties that I've had, because even though I've always created these masks and tried to be the person that'll get to fit in and integrate with the group and people will like me, it's never worked. Like, you know, like all the times I reinvented myself in high school, it didn't make anyone like me anymore. It didn't make anybody stop bullying me. It often just gave them like more fuel to the fire. But I would show up fully thinking that like I had sorted it this time and I was going to be a liked person. I was gonna like so on and so forth, you know, because I changed schools a lot and everything, so I often had the chance to give the first impression of myself and create someone completely new without anyone knowing who I'd been before. And I would create these masks that I thought were the coolest person ever, and no one else ever seemed to like them, you know? And I get that to some degree they could probably pick up on that it wasn't genuine. And there was also things like I was a fat kid, you know, there were lots of other things that went into it as well. But I don't feel like I have enough of a perception of how I or anyone else comes across to be able to build a mask that actually works and is actually likeable. And that's why I do think that my like unmasking journey has really worked and helped in a lot of ways, because the mask that I'm wearing now isn't unlikable, you know? It might not quite be me, it might not quite be myself, it might not actually be what I'm going for, but it is more honest to myself than the ones that I used to create were. And I feel like people can at least tell that I'm trying to be genuine. Like, I don't know if that helps me any or hinders me. I don't know if that makes me feel like when I can tell someone's trying to be genuine, I am sort of like, well, what are you hiding? But I'm also aware that I have a lot of trust issues caused by trauma, and not everybody reacts to people like that. Beyond that, I think it's also very difficult because the mask that I wore and put on was a little bit more confident and less anxious than I am in real life. Like, when I'm unmasked, or like, that's not even it. It's like I feel this like deep horrible anxiety on the inside, and on the outside I'm chatting and I must seem relaxed and I'm laughing and everything's fine, but inside I'm absolutely panicked and like feel sick, you know? So like I said, I was talking to the priest and he was like asking me about like education and what I do, and just trying to get to know me a little bit more. And I was like, oh, I'm unemployed, I make YouTube videos about being autistic because I can't really like access society, I don't really know how to talk to people. And you know, I went into like, I feel like I managed to steer away from like trauma dumping on him, but I was also quite honest about my situation in life and like that I've just never really been able to get anywhere, and I don't know how to access things. I don't know how to become a part of any sort of like societies or clubs or like any of that stuff. I've just sort of been quite isolated and on my own. I don't really talk to people, and it's one of those things where it's completely true, but when I'm saying it with such confidence and having shown up to this new space where I've like immediately like sat down with people and started a conversation, it just looks so fake, you know? Like, as much as I do feel like I was believed and it felt like a safe space to share those things and everything, I'm also like, if you look at the evidence that I've presented to you today by coming in and be like, I've done baked goods for people, oh, please give me that soup, oh, it's so nice to meet you. It just sounds so fake to be like, I've spent the last like over 10 years of my life just not speaking to anyone and not doing anything and being entirely isolated. Like, it just looks and sounds so fake, even though it is 100% the truth. And I think that's the other area where I really struggle with masking, is that I am very like, I do not like liars. I recently just like completely cut a friend off because I found out that they'd lied to me about a bunch of things and just like lied by omission. Like, I cannot stand liars. I already find it so difficult to understand people and understand situations and know what the fuck's going on and know what's right and wrong and understand what the truth is myself. I cannot deal with people telling me lies and hiding the truth from me and shit like that. Like, it really, really triggers me and stresses me out, and I really, really despise it. And I also don't have the best memory, so I don't lie myself because I'm just like, I will not be able to remember the lie that I told. If I tell the truth, if people ask me about that thing in future, I'll tell them the same thing again because it's the truth. I cannot lie, you know? Like, if it's, that's the thing, I hate when people like do the whole like, autistic people can't lie, because like if I really wanted to lie about a big thing, like I can't think of the things that I've lied about. I used to go into my brother's room and steal all of his Goosebumps books, and then my parents would get super mad at me because it was one of his special interests, so he'd be having like an autistic meltdown and they'd be like, did you take the Goosebumps book? And I could spend hours, I could spend weeks being like, no, I never went into his room, I never took the Goosebumps book, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, like, I can lie when it comes down to it, but in 99% of situations I just don't see the point, you know? Like with that, I was taking the Goosebumps book to school. I knew that no one was going to find it in my room and be able to tell me that I was a liar. But in other situations, like when I was in primary school, the only time I've ever assaulted anybody, and I was like 7 years old, I just slapped a girl across the face. She'd been like shouting shit in my face and being really mean, and I just fucking slapped her. I didn't even, like, my brain didn't even process that I was doing it, but I did. So when I got pulled into my head teacher's office and he was like, did you slap her across the face? I was like, yeah, I did. You know, like, I would, like, she had my handprint on the side of her face. There was just no point in lying about it. And that's how I feel about 99% of situations, is that there's just no point in lying. So with having that sort of like moral standard and feeling very strongly about lies, I don't like feeling like I'm lying to people about who I am. You know, even though I'm telling the truth verbally and being honest about who I am, the mask that I'm putting on and the person that I'm like portraying physically and like facially and whatever else is not the person that I'm explaining. It is not the person that I am, and it feels like a great big fat lie, and I hate it. I really, really don't like it. But I also feel like I just don't have the tools and the knowledge of how people act and how people like hold their bodies and how people, the facial expressions that people do to go along with things, and how I'm supposed to react in conversation and the things that I'm supposed to say back, and just asking questions. Like, all of it is so much, and I don't understand it, and I don't ever know if I'm doing the right thing or not. And it just feels like I'm telling like 8,000 tiny little lies anytime I interact with someone I'm not 100% comfortable with, you know? Like, if it's not one of my two best friends, I feel like I can't be myself, and I feel like I'm lying to the person that I'm talking to. And I feel like for most people, when I'm being like honest about my situation and where I am in life, which is, you know, not very fucking far, it sounds like I'm lying. Like, you know, like, the things that I'm saying, I don't really see how you would match with the person that I'm pretending to be. Like, being like, oh yeah, I've just stood here and like told you all this stuff and interacted with you and had a perfectly nice conversation with you, but if I go into a job interview, I go non-verbal and can't speak. Like, it just sounds so fucking fake. And it's also a thing of like, I've had people on YouTube and TikTok and like that are like, well, if you can do this, you can do that. And I agree. It feels like if I can blabber away and tell a priest all this stuff, I should be able to walk into a job interview and blabber away to them. And yet I fucking can't. And it's so frustrating and it's so annoying. And it again makes me feel like I'm some sort of liar when I'm not. And I don't think it helps that I thought that like my unmasking journey was gonna be like 2 years and done, you know? Like, I've been diagnosed for like, this September will be 5 years, I think. And I still like, I don't really feel like outwardly I'm any further than I was when I was first diagnosed, you know? Like, I feel like I've done a lot of the inner work and I've learned to feel a lot better about myself and not like just absolutely despise everything about me, and you know, the whole like what's wrong with me is gone because I know I'm just autistic. But in a lot of ways I don't feel like I'm able to actually socialize and cope with being social and talk to people or do any of that stuff any better than I could before I knew I was autistic. Like, sure, I can tell people now so they know why I'm the way that I am, but that doesn't help that I am the way that I am, and I don't want to be a lot of the time, you know? Like, most things about being autistic, I'm like, I'll deal with it, you know? It's part of being autistic, and I'm not going to go down the whole road of just like hating myself for autism because it's not going to get me anywhere. But when I want to be able to socialise and integrate with people and form a community and be a part of a community, and I just don't feel like I'm able to in any way be myself or put myself forward or like not act like someone that I'm not, it just becomes very fucking frustrating and really annoying, and I really hate it, you know? And it like I said, it makes me so anxious that I'm like, I don't really want to go back. And it's like, I do, because I'm enjoying so many aspects of it, and I do think that's a really good thing for me. But my anxiety says that I don't want to go back because I'm going to have to mask again, and it might be a different mask than last time. It might be even further from myself. It might. What if I actually managed to get around to acting like myself and being comfortable enough to like not be masked, and they suddenly fucking hate me? You know, like, it's just really fucking hard to socialise and put yourself out there and do these types of things as an autistic person. And I really thought that the more that I did it, the better I would get at it. But I'm not, you know? Like, I've been going to like little board game nights, I've been to like little like sing together for your health, like I've been to yoga classes, I've done all these like random little things where I was like, I'll be able to like meet some people and make some friends, and I meet some people and I'm just so fucking awkward and weird that I don't make any friends, and it feels so pointless to do it. Or I get so anxious because I've gone and I've made some friends by being like bubbly and fun and cute, and I don't know if I'm gonna have the energy to do that again next week. With it being an unintentional mask, I don't know if I'm gonna like slip into it or not. I don't know if I'm gonna slip into a different mask. I don't have any certainty on how things are gonna go, and that is extremely panic inducing for me. I don't like it. I'm not enjoying things at the minute. And that's this video. I don't have any more to say, but I also don't have like a smooth little nice way to round it off, because life is a struggle. See, that's the thing, I never want to be like too negative in these videos, but life is a struggle. Like, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with like every aspect of life, and it all sucks right now, and I'm not very happy. That's the fact of things, you know? Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's the fact. I'm not very happy. I'm not having a good time. I don't feel like I'm doing well as a person in any way, and that is difficult. But we live, we carry on, we try and do better, we try and get on with things. That's all I can fucking do. So yeah, I don't have anything else. I don't have some like great advice for you or anything. Like I said, this is just like my feelings and thoughts and experiences, and I'm putting them out here because I really sincerely hope that they're relatable to somebody, or that somebody, like, you know, if I could watch my videos like a year before making them and have these realizations then, I would just be further ahead. And I kind of hope I can provide that to someone that's having similar situations to me. But for now, I'm gonna go. So as always, Otis has decided now is the moment to play a cutie boy. But yeah, as always, you can follow me over on TikTok and Instagram for more like regular little life updates and just like fun things. You can follow me, I've got hair in my mouth. You can follow me over on Patreon and Ko-fi if you would like to donate to me monetarily, which would be very helpful given the world that we live in. But we are also all living in this world, so I understand if it's not something that you want or are able to do. People always like, oh, if you're not able to, it's fine. If you don't want to, that's also fine. Like, I know if you don't want to, you're probably just not going to, and me telling you to wouldn't change that. But I also, like, you just don't have to. There's no pressure whatsoever. It's all right, you know? I'll live. It's fine. I'm never going to stop being awkward about that, because it just feels so weird to have to ask you to give me money when I am basically doing the job, Mr. YouTube. Pay me. But yeah, I'm gonna go now. So whoever you are, wherever you are, if you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again with the oat man in a couple of days. Oh God.